I will guarantee you that you can find objectionable beliefs, things that seem to strain credulity in Islam.
It's my original point to you. Yes,
Christianity,
they're all
Mormonism.
crazy.
By its nature, demands that there be no room for debate. Am I right? I mean, you really think that I'm lost because I don't accept Jesus Christ as my Savior. You think I'm your inferior. Be honest.
Oh, no, not inferior.
Come on.
No,
you think,
no,
but wait, but you
that's
think
very different.
But wait, you think you have a truth.
I don't think you're inferior.
But do you think you have a truth that I do not see?
Yes.
Then aren't I not biological means
inferior? No, you're where I was once because I was all confused myself.
But see, that's condescending.
If you saw somebody that was starving and you had been hungry at one time, would you be superior to them because you're not starving anymore?
But that's assuming that I don't get it. That's what you're saying. This woman keeps saying to the kids, and they answer back. She says, I'm willing, God. I'll do what you want me to do. Wait a second. But see, the problem is that then there's a gap. God, I'll do what you want me to do, but there isn't actually any God talking to us, to tell us. So humans fill that gap, humans who have bad motivations, who are just human. God doesn't talk to you. You talk to him. Whether anybody's listening is an open question.
The way God speaks is through his word, Bill. There's so much in his word that's already been written.
But again, you're assuming that we all believe that God wrote a book.
No.
And I don't believe that.
This past Monday was Constitution Day in the U.S., and while I was going over the Constitution with my two adopted kids, Zach Ono and Mogadishu, I'm homeschooling them, I was struck again by Article 6, Section 3. It says, no religious test shall ever be required as a qualification to any office. And I agree. No one should ever be disqualified for their religion, even the funny ones, like all of them. But the problem is that there is a religious test in this country. According to a recent poll, 7 in 10 say it's important to have a president with strong religious beliefs. The other 3 couldn't take the poll because it was Friday night and Yahweh wouldn't let them answer the phone. But fair is fair. So for myself and the other 15 to 20% of Americans who the majority call non-believers, but who I call rationalists, here is our religious test for office. If you believe in Judgment Day, I have to seriously question your judgment. If you believe you're in a long-term relationship with an all-powerful space daddy who will, after you die, party with your ghost forever, you can't have my vote even for Miss Hawaiian Tropic. I can't trust you at the levers of government because there's an electrical fire going on in your head. Maybe a president who didn't believe our soldiers were going to heaven might be a little less willing to get them killed. Candidate Mitt Romney, a Mormon, believes in spiritually blessed underwear that can protect him. He seemed like a nice man, and so do his sons, Wally and the Beeve. But I'm sorry, their religion is batshit. It's like Scientology without the celebrities. And he has every right to run for president while believing in magic underwear and believing that Jesus survived his own death and will return during an Osmonds concert in Branson. And I have every right to take that into consideration in the voting booth. And at the end of the day, is magic underwear really that much crazier than giant arcs or virgin births or talking bushes? You're either a rationalist or you're not. And the good news is a recent poll found 20% of adults under 30 say they are rationalists and have figured out that Santa Claus and Jesus are really the same guy. Now, 20% is hardly a majority, but it's a bigger minority than blacks, Jews, homosexuals, NRA members, teachers, or seniors. And it's certainly enough to stop being shy about expressing the opinion that we're not the crazy ones. Just because the vote is 4-1, it doesn't mean the minority is wrong. People who were against this war from the start were a minority. The majority used to believe the world was flat. But if you believe that today, you'd either be packed off to Bellevue or asked to co-host The View.
There is no devil, so stop blaming your screw-ups on him.
Last week, one of the biggest evangelical leaders in America, the Reverend Ted Haggard, was outed for drugs and extramarital gay sex with a male prostitute. Or as Fox News reported it, John Kerry hates our troops. Now, this was big news because Reverend Haggard was frequently at the White House and a big fan of President Bush, who he described as tan, supple, and firm where it counts. And as president of the National Association of Evangelicals, Haggard presided over 45,000 churches and was a rock star for the Christian right. And like a rock star, he was getting his freak on a lot. Sometimes the sodomy left him so exhausted he could barely use idiotic old fairy tales to get people's money. Yes, Reverend Haggard was leading a shameful double life. But hey, you can't keep being an evangelist. You can't keep being an evangelist secret forever. I could have done that joke better. All right. Now, I bring this up because I believe it connects deeply to the Republican rout this week. They lost because they came to represent the opposite of everything they were supposed to be. Competent? No. Spendthrift? Hardly. Ethical? Rarely. And the last straw was when the party that was at least supposed to be carrying the water for the gay bashers turned out to be a closet full of repressed screamers. Who knew when the Republicans got in bed with the Christian right, it'd be in a stall inside of a truck stop restroom on the New Jersey Turnpike? Reverend Haggard's plight led many to ask, is it genetic? I mean, can a man actually be born a hypocrite? Because Ted Haggard was the leader of a megachurch, and megachurches are presided over by the same skeevy door-to-door Bible salesman that we've always had, just in an age of better technology. But they're selling the same thing, fear. Fear to keep you in line. And to get your money. And it's not a coincidence the Republican Party has, in recent years, operated in the same way. It's also no coincidence that people of too much faith just don't see reality. Bush not seeing Iraq for what it is not that different from the way Reverend Ted's followers still think he's not gay. I'm not kidding. In their world, there are no gay people. There are just straight people who are sinning. They don't want to do it, but the devil makes them. He targets people like Reverend Ted. That's how it happened. The devil got hold of Reverend Ted, and Ted said, "Get thee behind me, Satan." In conclusion, I'd just like to say on this historic week that the legacy of the religious right will be that, despite their holy pretenses, they made politics not cleaner, but dirtier. Because when you're so sure you're right, you wind up acting so wrong. And as for Reverend Ted himself, the good news is that he is in full recovery and says he'll be receiving both spiritual advice and guidance. The bad news is, it's from Andy Dick.